The Rangers' offense has been rough the last 2 years, but is the way to make it better through a trade? Talk about that and more in this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Russ Patrick, a crippling addicted Texas Ranger fan, covered the team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, we are talking about some potential trade targets for the Rangers this offseason, some bats would make a lot of sense. We're going to talk a little bit about some lower tier free agent hitters, and we're going to talk about Jacob deGrom winning the Players' Choice Comeback Player of the Year award. But before we get into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. Now, I want to start with Jacob deGrom winning the Comeback Player of the Year award, just briefly touching on what is a monumental season for Jacob deGrom, being healthy, being back to being one of the best pitchers in all of baseball after being sidelined for the vast majority of 2023 and 2024. His first 2 seasons with Texas, he makes 30 starts this year, has a sub-3 ERA, 185 strikeouts. He's the Rangers' only All-Star this year, and he wins the Comeback Player of the Year in his mid-30s. Coming back for 30 starts after making just 3 last year and 6 the year before that, at age 37, having a 3-win season in terms of WAR. He had 12 actual wins because he was Jacob deGrom, and this team really let him down. Having a healthy season, he is so proud of himself for just getting to those 30 starts, because at the beginning of this year, that was a huge question mark of, can Jacob deGrom even make 30 starts? Is he going to be going like 5 innings per start when he gets there? But only having to miss 1 start this year was truly magnificent. One of the best comeback performances I have ever seen at such an old age, because 37 in baseball years is old. There's not as many miles on that arm, but still, after missing that much time for the last, not just 2 years, but the 2 years preceding that, he didn't have a fully healthy season either of those years as well. So this is a monumental award for Jacob deGrom. He is probably almost assuredly not going to win the Cy Young this year. I don't know if he's going to finish top 10. I'd assume he receives some votes, but this is a nice feather in the cap for Jacob deGrom, a capper on what was a great season and something that he is going to build on next year. He's targeting 200 innings next year. That would be fantastic if the Rangers could get that, and a closer version of 2019-2018 Cy Young Jacob deGrom than we saw this year, which was still a phenomenal season. Now, let's get into these trade targets. I've talked this week about the different bats that the ways that the Rangers could go about fixing this offense. I looked at the top end of this market. There are a couple guys I didn't look at on this market, especially in the top end. Bo Bichette, that's not someone who the Rangers are going to go for. There's a couple other guys that just don't make any sense financially or positionally, more positionally than financially, because I did look at some guys who didn't make any sense financially. But I think a trade could be the way to go for this Rangers squad, who was the best offense in the American League in 2023 and then has been either mid or just straight up bad for the last couple of seasons. And I think the number one target I want to start looking at is Adley Rutschman, catcher for the Baltimore Orioles, who has been an all-star multiple times, is coming off of his worst career season and coming off of just basically a season and a half where he has been kind of bad, honestly, kind of bad. In the second half of 2024, he was an all-star in 2024. And in the second half, he had a 585 OPS. That was nearly a 200-point dip from what he did in the first half of that year. And then this past year was also just rough. I mean, he only played in 90 games. He had a 2-win season, which you may see that and say, well, he played half a season and he was on pace for a 4-win season for 162. Why is that bad? Well, his OPS was significantly below where it had been in the past. A 673 OPS in just 90 games, only 9 home runs, only 29 RBIs in 90 games. I know RBIs aren't the most important thing, and I myself think they're a little bit inflated, or at least they used to be. Now I think maybe they're underinflated, but only driving in 29 runs in 90 games. I mean, that Baltimore Orioles offense, which, man, John Smoltz is just shaking and crying and screaming and throwing up. The fact that the Baltimore Orioles didn't have the longest, most successful dynasty in the history of baseball after being so obsessed with them after they got swept by the Rangers in that 2023 ALDS. But you may be thinking, why should the Rangers trade for a guy who is bad, has been bad for a season and a half? He's heading into his age 28 season. He's got 2 more years of arbitration left. And I think my thinking is, this is a player with a lot of potential. Now, the Baltimore Orioles are a great organization at developing hitters and getting the most out of hitters, and the Rangers have not done the best job of that. So it would be risky. But this guy is an absolute unicorn. Getting a player of his potential, and why the Orioles would trade him is because he's been down for a season and a half. And they also have one of the top catching prospects in all baseball, who is now at the big leagues, as Samuel Basallo, who plays a little bit of catcher, a little bit of first base. It mainly plays first base because the Baltimore Orioles have Adley Rutschman. But Adley is a switch hitting catcher who hits for power, who gets on base, who is a fantastic defensive catcher, the former number 1 overall pick. And he's been a guy who has had multiple All-Star appearances, won a Silver Slugger back in 2023, was second in Rookie of the Year voting in 2022, only because that was one of the greatest Rookie of the Year races we have ever seen. He finished second to Julio Rodriguez, and had he been called up at the beginning of the year, like he should have, he might have even won Rookie of the Year in 2022. Adley Rutschman is a fantastic player, but he is in a down spurt for sure. Maybe a change of scenery could change things up for him. And it would take a lot of prospect capital to get Adley Rutschman, but something that I think could make sense for both teams, something that has been bandied about by Rangers Twitter and some of the prospect heads that I follow all season long, especially after Adley was struggling this year. He missed a lot of time with 2 different oblique strains on the same oblique, so maybe just he re-aggravated it. He missed a month, then came back, and about a month later, from the late end of June to July, he missed with a right oblique strain. Then he came back, and then at the end of August, he missed yet another month with the same oblique strain. It just hadn't quite healed correctly. It's not something that is going to linger and bother him heading into the offseason or heading into next season. But it's something to keep an eye on for sure. He has been mostly very healthy. I mean, in 2024, he played 148 games. He played 154 in 2023. He only played 113 in 2022 because he was in the minor leagues for a month because they were trying to service time manipulate, and he ended up finishing second in the Rookie of the Year voting. So he still gets that full year of service time anyway. So he's got 2 seasons left. He's got his age 28 and age 29 season left. If the Rangers think that trading away Josh Young, that is the swap that has been bandied about, of, hey, just a change of scenery for both these guys who are very talented young players, who are both former All-Stars, one of whom has a World Series ring, the other of whom has multiple All-Star appearances and a Silver Slugger award to his name. It could be a great swap for both of them. I'm not sure the Orioles will actually end up doing this, because I'm pretty sure that Orioles fans would just straight up revolt after getting this new owner heading into, what was it, the 2024 season, I believe it was, and them saying, hey, we're not poor anymore. We're not poor anymore. We could actually extend all of our great players. Maybe we could keep Gunnar Henderson around. It's not just a surefire thing that he is going to walk in free agency to some team that will actually pay him what he's worth. It's not a surefire thing that Adley Rutschman will walk to a team in free agency that will pay him what he's worth. But if they trade him away, there might be mass rioting. But I think this could be a trade that makes sense for both sides. But there's another AL East former All-Star that I think could change this Rangers team, would fit the culture, and would be a massive upgrade offensively in right field. Talk about that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season. Whether you're following the NFL, NBA, or both, there's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, PrizePicks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least two player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere PrizePicks operates, including California, Texas, and Georgia. I've been using PrizePicks during both football Sundays and NBA tip-offs. It keeps every game exciting. I like picking my favorite players, like maybe I'm going Patrick Mahomes. Maybe I'm going with Cooper Flagg. I'm probably not going with Anthony Davis right now. And you can see how my predictions pan out. The new stacks feature is a game changer. You can pick more or less on players like Cooper Flagg's 3-pointers, points, and assists in the same lineup. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Shout out to everybody for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On Monday's show, I'll be back next week. I'll be looking at some of the different tiers of pitching free agents, starting pitchers. Will the Rangers break the bank and sign yet another ace to go along with what has been an incredible pitching staff? I'll talk about that and some mid-tier options next week on Locked On Rangers. Now, the next guy on this list is a guy who has been on the trade block for quite some time and is not coming off of a bad season, but not coming off of his best season. And it's mainly just a positional misfit that would cause his team to trade him. That is Jarren Duran, an all-star once in 2024. I think probably should have been an all-star this year. I mean, he has been a fantastic player for the last couple of years for the Boston Red Sox. And the reason the Red Sox would trade him is not because he is bad. He is actually very, very good, but because the Boston Red Sox have a lot of very, very, very talented players, and trying to Jenga them all into one lineup is difficult. I mean, they've got Sedan Rafaela in center field, who is absolutely elite. Defensively, they've got Christian Campbell, who is coming off of a real up and down season. They have Roman Anthony, who is one of, if not the top prospects, or was the top prospect in all of baseball heading into this season. They've also got Willie Abreu. They got a lot of pieces parts out there to fit into several different spots in the really only 3 different spots in the outfield. And Jarren Duran might be the odd man out. He is arbitration eligible through the 2028 season. So basically he's got 3 more seasons of control. He's 29 years old, and it would cost a lot to get Jarren Duran. It would cost a lot of prospect capital. This is a guy who plays basically every single day. The only 2 games that he missed in 2024 was when MLB suspended him for hurling a homophobic slur at a fan that was caught on a live mic. Other than that, he played all 162. Don't love that from a guy, but hopefully give him a chance to grow and learn, and he just won't be doing that ever again. The last couple years, he has been fantastic at hitting triples. Basically, his whole entire career, he has been fantastic at hitting triples, leading the American League last year with 13 triples, and the year before leading all of Major League Baseball with 14 triples. This dude has got some speed. And in years past, he has been an elite defender. This year, his outs above average were in the bottom 20% of the league. 18th percentile. He was at -4 runs outs above average, which was not particularly great. The arm value is still very good. The arm strength is very good. He played mostly left field this year, has played center field in the past. I think with the Rangers, they would probably stick him in right field if they were to make a move to move on from Adolis Garcia. I think that is what they might do. Maybe they just do a Adolis Garcia for Jarren Duran swap, but the Raiders would have to include a lot of prospect capital because, again, a guy who is a former All-Star and had a 5-win season this year. I mean, it's not a bad season. It just wasn't quite as good as an 8.7 Baseball Reference for season in 2024. I mean, it's hard to repeat that, a basically 9-win performance, but a 4.5-win performance ain't bad. It is actually a pretty big upgrade. And offensively, a 114 OPS plus. That's solid. I mean, he still struggles against left-handed pitching. I mean, this year was really tough on him against lefties. A 620 OPS for I believe that is for his career. A 620 OPS against left-handed pitching. This year, a 600 OPS against lefties and an 852 OPS against right-handed pitching. Defensively, I think this year was more of an aberration than just a sign that he is actually on the decline. His sprint speed is still elite. The arm is still great. The bat speed is fantastic. The one thing he doesn't do well offensively, that if he starts doing it, he will become an absolute monster, is if he starts pulling in the ball in the air more frequently. I mean, in years past, he has been around 10, 11% pull in the air percentage, where the major league average is 16.7%. This year, he was closer to major league average, but the overall offensive profile wasn't quite as good as it's been in years past. He's at 15% pull in the air rate, that's usually where all your home runs and extra base hits come from, or at least the vast majority of those home runs and extra base hits come from. But when you're a left-handed hitter hitting in Fenway, it is also very good to use the opposite field. But this is a guy who would cost a lot of prospect capital, maybe a guy who's big league ready. I mean, a Kumar Rocker for Jarren Duran swap might make sense. It would be a hefty price, especially if Kumar Rocker turns out to be the player that the Rangers think he could be. I think it would take more than just Kumar Rocker. It would take another at least top 10 prospect. I don't think the Rangers would put Sebastian Walcott in a deal for Jarren Duran, but it would cost quite a pretty penny. I don't know if the Rangers would pony up for this, but it would be a huge upgrade, and it would be an opportune time to go take advantage of one team having too many good players for too many spots. And Jarren Duran, I think, would fit this clubhouse culture and just really fit in with exactly the vibe that the Rangers have had for the last couple of years, and also just be a big talent upgrade over what they have been putting out there. And the durability. The durability is a huge, huge plus in Jarren Duran's favor. This would be incredibly expensive from a capital perspective of what it would take from, trading prospects and trading even big league talent. But I think it would be worth it because this guy is very, very talented. The next guy on this list wouldn't quite cost as much, but he would be an interesting fit. That is Brendan Donovan, coming off of his first and only All-Star appearance. He was born in Würzburg, Germany. Shout out Dirk Nowitzki. Shout out Maxi Kleber, the home of the greatest Dallas sports athlete ever. But he grew up in Southern Alabama. He went to the University of Southern Alabama in Mobile. This was an all-star season for Brendan Donovan, and he's such a Cardinals-y type of player. He's a guy who hits for a lot of average, plays a bunch of different positions, very gritty, honestly would really kind of fit the vibe of a Skip Schumacher team. He does not basically ever strike out. The launch angle sweet spot for him is fantastic. The squared up percentage is great. It's kind of the same type of power. The way he gets his power is the same way that Marcus Semien gets his power. It's not just pure raw strength and bat speed. The bat speed is actually very, very low, but he knows how to hit very, very well. He provides a lot of the value that the Rangers are, the type of hitter that the Rangers, I think, are looking to move their offense more towards next year. He's 28 years old. He missed a little bit of time this year. He had a sports hernia surgery on October 7th. He also had a UCL brace surgery in the back end of 2023, where he missed the last couple of months of that season. He struggles a little bit against left-handed pitching because he is a lefty, but he plays basically every position. He is just kind of a better, more consistent hitting Josh Smith with a little bit more power. 10 home runs this year, 3 stolen bases, a 287 batting average, a 775 OPS. This is a very consistent player, a guy who is very contact-oriented, who has a couple more seasons of club control. His age 29 and 30 seasons will be under club control. I don't know exactly what it would cost to go get him. I'm not saying the Cardinals are particularly keen on moving him, but they've got a new Pobo in charge after this offseason, or I guess now that we are in the offseason, or soon will be officially by everybody. I mean, the Rangers are in the offseason, Cardinals in the offseason, but everybody will be in the offseason by at the very least on Sunday. So we'll see exactly what it looks like, but that is someone who I think the Rangers were at least keeping an eye on. Another couple of trade targets before we get out of here. One of them is fascinating to me. Oneil Cruz. Oneil Cruz is just a fascinating baseball player. He is a just magnificent physical player. I mean, truly, the physical gifts are unparalleled. I mean, maybe Ellie is kind of close. Ellie De La Cruz, Shohei Ohtani is kind of similarly close. But I mean, just in terms of, nobody hits the baseball harder than Oneil Cruz. Nobody swings the bat harder than Oneil Cruz. And also, he is one of the fastest players in baseball. And he is 6'7", and for quite some time, they were playing him at shortstop. They put him in center field this year, and defensively, it was kind of a disaster, and then it got a little bit better. I mean, the Rangers saw evidence of that when they went to Pittsburgh. A couple of just really, really bad misplays by Cruz. If the Rangers have him, I trade for him, I think they'd stick him in right field. I mean, putting him from shortstop to just straight up center field and not transitioning him to one of the corner outfield spots feels a bit wild. I mean, the arm strength is literally tops in baseball, so you put him out there in right field. The arm value was in the top 6% of baseball, just the pure arm strength, averaging 98.2 miles per hour on his throws from the outfield. I mean, this guy athletically is just unbelievably talented, but there are some flaws. The swing and miss is through the roof. I mean, the physical gifts are great, but these softer skills are not quite as great. In terms of hitting left-handed pitching, I don't think there was anybody worse in Major League Baseball hitting left-handed pitching this year than Oneil Cruz. I mean, in years past, he hasn't been abjectly horrible, but this year he hit 102 batting average and a 400 OPS. Not slugging percentage, not on base percentage, a 400 OPS against left-handed pitching in 125 plate appearances. Just one home run, 44 strikeouts, did have 16 walks, so it wasn't completely an automatic out, but basically was an automatic out. If the Rangers feel like they could fix whatever is causing him to, have these horrendous at-bats against lefties, he's still always going to be a high strikeout, high swing and miss guy. The chase rate was actually about average this year. The walk rate was well above average. The bat speed, the hard hit rate, all of those were very, very good, but he still had a 676 OPS on the season and hit just 200. But he did lead the league with 38 stolen bases. He did have 20 home runs. He is a 30-30 threat, and the physical gifts are unparalleled. If the Rangers think they could get the most out of Oneil Cruz and can teach him how to hit better than the Pirates can, which, again, that's not a super hard thing to do, this could be a guy who the Rangers go and make a trade for. In terms of what it would take to go get him, it might be costly, it might not. I honestly don't know. The Pirates are kind of a mess in their front office, so this could be a guy who is worth taking a big old gamble on. He's got 3 seasons left of team control, so I would say if the Rangers think that they can actually fix him, that is a very, very worthy gamble. Coming up, we got 2 more guys, actually just one more guy to kind of kick the tires on in terms of trade targets, and 3 under the radar, low tier, buy low free agents that I think could make a big difference on this Rangers offense next year. All that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Now, let's look at these World Series odds. As I'm recording this, it's Thursday morning today on the off day, heading into this Friday game where the Toronto Blue Jays could win it all. Right now, they are the favorites to win it all because they just need one win in the next 2 games to take out the Dodgers and hoist that World Series trophy. They are minus 240 to win the whole dang thing. Dodgers plus 198 in terms of the awards. Right now, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is the favorite to win the World Series MVP at minus 195. Shohei Ohtani, second favorite at plus 250, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto at plus 1300. If he has another incredible game tonight and the Dodgers win it all, I might lean towards Yoshinobu Yamamoto, depending on how great if he throws another complete game in the World Series and the Dodgers win it, I think you have got to give that man the MVP, no matter what Shohei Ohtani does. But right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Now let's look at one more trade target. You know what? I'm not going to talk about Brandon Lowe this year. You know what? This is going to be the first year that I'm not saying, hey, Brandon Lowe is going to make a lot of money next year and the Rays are poor. I don't know if they're going to pay him. They're probably going to pay him. or they're going to not exercise that $20 million team option for 2025. I actually, you know what? I don't think he's going to become a free agent. I think that would be too difficult for the Rays. They would not let him just walk for nothing. They would exercise that team option. They would trade him to somebody. I don't think it's a fit anymore. I don't think he's going to play right field for the Rangers. I don't think the Rangers are going to up in Marcus Semien at second base, where Brandon Lau was also really bad defensively this year. He hit a bunch of bombs, but I don't see it being a fit. And honestly, I'm kind of tired about talking about a potential Brandon Lau trade. Would have been funny if the Rangers had Nathaniel Lowe and Brandon Lau after he went from after Brandon Lau went from being teammates with both the Lowe brothers to another team where you have to figure out Lowe versus Lau. But let's look at some of these, not bottom tier, because that feels mean to say, but the less expensive free agent hitters. And the top guy on this list for me that could make sense for the Rangers is Harrison Bader. He is coming off of a fantastic career year that I don't know if I quite believe it can sustain. He had 17 home runs last season, finishing off the season with the Philadelphia Phillies after being traded at midseason. I mean, he had a really, really great year last year, but the expected numbers just don't look all that reliable. I don't know that I trust that he can repeat that next year. He provides a lot of value defensively in both left field and center field and right field. He's played basically every single position. He is a right-handed hitter drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals. In years past, he has been an elite defensive center fielder. Almost all of his home runs are to the pull side power. He did have a couple of opposite field home runs, but the expected batting average is more than 50, about actually 48 points lower than what the actual batting average was. The expected slugging is about 60, 70 points lower than what the actual one was. The average exit velocity is in the bottom 15% of baseball. The strikeout rate was very high. The swing and miss rate, the chase rate, all of those things, the launch angle, sweet spot, all of those are in the blue. But the bat speed was good. The barrel rate was good. And that's about it. Defensively, that is where he got most of his value. I don't think he's going to put up a 796 OPS next season. I don't know if it'll even be above 700 because the 2 seasons before that, it was in the mid 600s to low 600s. But he gives a lot of value defensively. He could be a guy who the Rangers signed to just come in and mash lefties, although he did have reverse splits last year. I don't know if that's going to continue next year. He's hitting righties better than he is hitting lefties. He's a guy who I would at least kick the tires on, but if it's 2 years, $20 million, which is what he's projected to make by Spot Track, I think that might be more than he is going to actually end up making. He did have a 4.2 baseball reference for a season. I don't know how much that is sustainable for, next year. He has only had 1 season above, I guess 2 seasons above 3 wins, and both of those, or 2 seasons before this above 3 wins, and both those were with the Cardinals back in 2021 and also in 2018, which was a long time ago. He's in his early 30s. And he is a lot of value based on his speed and his glove, which I think will start to decline. But he's at least someone to keep an eye on for this offseason. If he's signing just a 1-year deal, I think that might be worth the risk. If the Rangers think he can repeat that, I kind of trust what they can do offensively, but it's still a little bit of a gamble for sure. The next guy on this list is a guy who is very much a platoon hitter, only hits against lefties, but man, he is one of the best lefty destroyers in the league. That is Rob Refsnyder. He plays second base, he plays outfield, he plays first base. Although with Rangers, he'd probably just play the outfield. He'd be kind of a platoon guy, basically put Wyatt Langford out there in center field on days where a left-handed starter is on the mound, and then put Rob Refsnyder out there in left field, and then TBD in right field. But this man, he does basically one thing incredibly well, and it's hit lefties. And he does it at a truly elite level. Not just, he's pretty good against lefties. This man has a 959 OPS against left-handed pitching last year. 959. That is like not quite Aaron Judge levels, but that is one of the best hitters in all of baseball against left-handed pitching. The batting average over 300. The on-base was 1 point shy of 400. He slugged 560 against left-handed pitching in 116 plate appearances, or 138 plate appearances. He was unbelievable at hitting lefties last year. That is a guy who brings a lot of value to a team. And he's projected to sign just a 1-year, $4 million deal. That was about what he signed last year. He is a little bit on the older side. He is in his mid-30s, 34 years old, heading into his age 35 season. But he does one thing really, really well. This was his best season. He had an 838 OPS as a whole. Most of that was carried by his plate appearances against left-handed pitching. He was about a 600, 650 OPS player against, 616 OPS player against right-handed pitching this year. So not a guy who's going to play every day. No, but when there's lefty out there, this could be a guy who really gets the job done. And he also is a former Ranger for 15 games in 2020. I'm sure you remember Robert F. Snyder's tenure with the Texas Rangers in 2020 very well. I actually do not remember just about any of it. Maybe it's because it was a pandemic and I don't remember a lot of things happening in 2020, let alone the regular season outside of Slam Diego, just slamming the crap out of Texas and ending that season and the hopes prematurely. And I also remember the Corey Kluber unfortunate exit of 2020. But Rev Snyder is a guy who I think makes a lot of sense. I also don't remember Adolis Garcia's debut with the Rangers in 2020. So maybe it was just pandemic brain that kind of made me forget a lot of what was happening that year. But Rev Snyder is a guy who would not cost a whole lot of money, has a very specific set of skills that I think could be helpful for a Texas Rangers team that's got a lot of left-handed bats and could use somebody who just absolutely annihilates left-handed pitching. Now, last guy on this list is Randal Grichuk. He is coming off of a tough season with the Royals, but again, it's very tough to hit in Kansas City. It is not a hitter-friendly park like the park that he had played in for the last 2 years. He was with the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2024 and 2023. I really wanted the Rangers to go sign him heading into last season. He was a guy who also crushes left-handed pitching. Last year, his OPS dropped 202 points from where it was in 2024. Now, you may be saying, Bryce, why do you want to go sign a 35-year-old who just had an OPS drop of 202 points from 2024 to 2025? And I say, Kansas City. Kansas City. That is an incredibly pitcher-friendly park. Arizona is a little bit more of a hitter-friendly park. He had an 876 OPS in 2024. He was part of that unbelievably good 2024 Arizona Diamondbacks offense, but so was Jock Peterson, and that didn't sustain in 2025. Maybe that was just a flash in the pan. I don't know, but this is a guy who also hits left-handed pitching very well. He plays all three outfield spots. He was a little bit below average defensively this year, but mostly fine. But you look at the expected numbers on Randal Grichuk, and they are so much closer to what he did in 2024 than what they actually ended up being in 2025. I think there is still a very good offensive player in there. He also would not be very expensive. He projected to sign about a $4 or $5 million deal. I think that could be a very valuable player. Maybe not quite a 3-4 win player that we have seen Adolis Garcia be in years past, but at least as a valuable bench guy to come in and mash left-handed pitching, that is a valuable role. The Rangers don't really have anybody to play right now on their bench. So for that reason, I am very much interested in the Rangers pursuing Randal Grichuk. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.